second straight day, full practice for Logan Thompson. What's your plan and goal going into this first round?
You will find out tomorrow night.
Away from the game for a second, the scene on the ice today with all the kids and their faces and the parents' faces. They said that was something that you wanted to do because of the holidays and everything else, but just what a way to get ready for the most important time for your team.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we overthink it as coaches and as people that are in management and athletes, and I know this firsthand from our guys because I've been around them all year long, is you can be an extremely intense competitor, an extremely hard worker, someone that takes your craft extremely seriously, and you also can be a great family man, and you also can enjoy your time at the rink. And that is something that's so important to not only our team specifically, but our organization and the way that we want our culture to be here and we want players to feel is, yeah, we're the ultimate competitors when the puck drops, and when we practice and when we train and we watch film, everybody is dialed in and there's an expectation and a standard to meet. And when we have opportunities to spend time with our family and enjoy our time at the rink and let them be a part of it, we take advantage of those. So I thought today, being Easter Sunday, it's an important holiday for a lot of young families, and us having practice today felt like it was a good time to be able to get everybody to the rink post-practice and enjoy some time together.
Up front.
If I can follow up with that, everybody was relaxed, and it's a good thing to be relaxed, but on the eve of the first round of the playoff, when you are expected to win against a team that is in eighth space, can it be too much of relaxation before a series like that?
Not if you get to know the Washington Capitals team, and you get to know our players, and you get to know how hard they compete. And I mean, it's just a prime example. I talked about it yesterday. I don't have to beat a dead horse. Everybody in the media, everybody in the outside world had the Washington Capitals not in the playoffs this year. It's just the reality of where we were and our guys inside our room. You've got guys that are maybe not the most skilled. We had no players at the Four Nations. We probably don't have the most high-end skill team, but we've got a group of guys that compete their butts off on a daily basis. They want to win. They're detailed, and that's why we've been able to accomplish the regular season. Now, to your point, that means nothing going into a series and into the playoffs, and so it's our job to bring that same intensity and that same fire that we brought during the regular season.
Up front.
I know you're not saying much about the injuries, but Protas did skate today. What's just what is that a positive step for him? And what has he meant to your team this year? If you want to hear for Protas?
Yeah, I mean, Pro has been. I think there's a strong argument that he has had the best or the most improved season out of any player in the National Hockey League with what the season he had last year and the growth that you've seen from him as a player. And so he's been a massive part of our team, plays in every situation. I know you'd say you don't power play, I guess, doesn't play in that scenario, but he plays in every situation from key scenarios for us. He can go anywhere inside of your lineup. He can play when you're down a goal and you need someone to make a play, or you need someone to create a turnover on the forecheck or use his size and speed. And he's the progression and the growth from a young player back in Hershey to where he is now. It's leaps and bounds of how much growth you've seen from him, and he's a huge part of our team.
Hi, Spencer.
Hey.
Just a quick one before my actual question. Was it by design that you had all the players and their kids on? Like, did you actually tell the players, bring your kids, bring your family? This is the type
Yeah, I
of
did.
thing you want to have?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regarding Tom Wilson, he's never had a 30-goal season, even in the juniors, and he just had one this year. What aspect do you think of his game will serve you guys the most during this series? And was there more offense in him than you thought heading in this?
I think he's always been what we call as coaches a unicorn. You look around the league and you ask other coaches other players, that there's not a lot of players like Tom Wilson, the combination of power, size, strength, physicality, and playmaking ability, finish, hockey sense, power play instincts. All the combination is so unique, and so it's always been that way. That nothing changed since I got here about that. I think there's some areas inside of his game from a finishing standpoint that he's grown and he's taken to the next level, power play wise, getting to the inside a little bit more, being a threat at the net front. His shot, I feel like, has even gotten better, of picking his spots and getting it through. And as far as what he can do in the series, I don't think it's anything different than what he's done all season long, is of using that combination of skill and offensive instincts with his physicality, his power, his strength, his ability to hold on to pucks, his ability to be a physical player on the forecheck, his ability to be a penalty killer for us and be a huge part of that, or a 5-on-6, or defending key situations. So his all-around game is, I mean, there's very few. I'm trying to go through the league of guys that can have a combination at that level that Tom Wilson does.
The way that the playoffs ended last year, is that erased immediately when you start the regular season? And down in that locker room, they say it's a 2-month process, these playoffs, if you do it the right way. What's the biggest key for that?
It's erased in a sense that we, and I specifically, would absolutely dive into what happened in those games and why did they turn out the way they did. So you need to, as a coach, take a step back, decompress, let the emotion die down, and then figure out the X's and O's. And sometimes it's the preparation. What did we do here? What did we prepare for? What didn't we? What worked? What went well? What didn't go well? And then you dive into that. So you learn from that experience playing, and then you move on, and then it's a clean slate. And then the next season, that's over. As far as the doing it the right way and preparing for 2 months, that's a difficult question, because I haven't even. And maybe some other coaches do it differently and they plan this thing out and expect to go 3 rounds. I'm a game 1 guy. And yeah, we have a plan in place for a standpoint of scheduling and practices and what we're trying to accomplish. But my focus and what I'm trying to get our players and our staff on the same page with is playing well in the first game of this series.
Time for 2 more questions on the left.
Hi.
Tom Wilson was just saying that Pierre Dubois is now one of the best two-way center in the league.
Agree.
Why do you think it worked here, or how was he able to make it work this time?
Hard. I've been asked this a bunch this year. Hard question to answer, just because I don't know, other than him telling me and our relationship of talking to him about his prior experiences and what went well, what didn't go well. I think a couple things. I think he's grown, obviously, as a person, as a player, matured at this point in his career. So he's gone through a lot of experiences that, right or wrong, good or bad, have helped him in this moment where he is right now. Now, as far as him coming here and us getting on the same page, and myself this summer utilizing his strengths, okay, what do you do well? Where are you best utilized? Tell me when you feel like you're playing your best. What is a head coach doing to help you with that? How do you learn? What's your deployment? Where do you like to play? What situations? What wingers do you like to play? All those little things of learning about the player and learning about what Doobie, when he's at his best, what's happening around him, and what is the coach doing to affect that? And then his doing, and what I've seen from him, is 2 things. One is I've seen an extremely consistent player, which is really difficult to do at this level for 82 games. So he's been as consistent a player as we've had all year long, of just game 1 to game 82, of playing at your standard. And obviously every player has a little bit of this, but his are like 10 good, maybe one where he struck, and then right back up. And the other thing that I think, and why I think Tom says what he does, and it's why I believe he should absolutely will be in consideration as a Selke candidate for a long time to come, is he's as intelligent of a player as I've ever coached. So centerman, size, everything, the intangibles, the skill, everything that he did to why he was so highly touted. And now the thing that I think doesn't go unnoticed, or what he's grown into, is an intelligent two-way 200-foot centerman that in any situation, I rarely, 1 in maybe 10 games, I'll have to show him something where he didn't know what was going on, or a read or something we do inside of our system. And that tells me, and I've told this before to our local media, is he's the type of guy that when you sit down and you do individual video with him and you talk about different things, he knows everything that happened in the game that he's playing back from last night. He knows where like not just the play, he knows the line mates that he was on the ice with, he knows the opponents, he knows the hands of and so that he's just he's a coach's son, and he just is such an intuitive, intelligent player that has such a good sense for the game and then everything that's happening around him. And that it's a pretty impressive quality. I think that's why he's done as well as he has, or one of the reasons and one of the attributes that he has.
Last question, sorry.
Is a young player like Demidov, is he a bit of a wild card because you don't have as much film on him? And,
Yeah.
And what do you, as a coaching staff, do to prepare your team for a player that has that kind of dynamic skill?
Yeah, it's challenging. I agree with the assessment because you don't have a lot of film on him. We haven't seen him a lot. I think the 2 games watched him live, you can tell 2 things that I saw in watching him. One is he's one of those players that the moment you can tell it's one of those guys that thrives. The bigger the stage, the more attention. He wasn't shying away from a thing in that game, in those games. Wanted the ball, like I would say the ball because I equate it to basketball, like wanted the last shot, wanted to be out there, wanted to be the guy on the power play on the flank shooting it. Because what happens is a lot of young players come into the league. You look around, Nick Suzuki, okay, Cole Caulfield, he's done a lot in this league, and you defer, right? Because you're, of course, this, like I can be the guy that's going to make the play, that's going to shoot it in the back of the net. I know those guys are great, and I have a ton of respect for them, but that's a mindset and a mentality of those really elite athletes and elite players that want or that have that confidence. The other thing that I noticed is his skating and his ability to protect pucks and get the edge. He made a great play in that Chicago game, which I think it was Murphy 5, where he cuts back on him.
It's a little koozie like.
Yeah, and he can control the puck. He's not trying to move it quick. He's willing to hold on to it. That's not an easy skill for young players. Like that takes poise. That takes confidence. That takes really intelligent hockey sense when a D over pursues and you cut back like that on him. So, yeah, there's going to be a feeling out process for our guys of getting comfortable playing against him and seeing what he's all about, because I agree with the assessment. He can absolutely be an X factor and a difference maker.